Welcome back to another episode of the Shit Stick of Life podcast. I'm Kortney Wilson. Let's get into it. This episode includes conversations about sexual assault, which may be difficult to hear. Please care for yourself while listening, and know the resources and support are linked in the show notes.
You know, I had a lot of, as an early on in my childhood, just not just that traumatic event, but just darkness that was surrounding me. And my neighbor, young girl, she was very withdrawn. We lived out in the country. This was when my mother married my stepdad, and we were living out in the country with them. At the end of the bus ride, it was always me and Jan, this neighbor that I had, and she was very withdrawn, stayed to herself,
Your
didn't
age?
talk to anybody. She was about a year older than me. And we became friends because at the end of the day, it was always she and I on this bus and together. And I was the only one that talked to her. And I became her friend. And all of a sudden, I get called into the counselor's office in middle school. And they tell me Jan died. And come to find out, she literally lived across the street from me and out in the country. And she was murdered.
Oh my.
And her mother didn't show up for work one day. And the person that works with her mother went to their home, discovered Jan and her mother slaughtered all over that house, and freaked out and ran to my house for help. And my mother was home by herself during the day. She was a homemaker. Answered the door, and I just am convinced she opened that door to just a whole slew of evil that came in to not just her life, but our life as a result of just what started with evil. It was a murder. And this lost lady came to my mother, but she introduced my mom to this whole spiritual world. She ended up coming back to my house and organizing seances.
Oh my goodness.
And
your mom didn't like religion. She wasn't involved in a church.
No, but again, we're all made to worship something. So she was very intrigued by this.
Cult-like.
It is. And it does suck you in. She had all of us doing it. We're all in the basement, which is where my bedroom was, and we're working Ouija boards and calling up dead spirits. And she would invite people over who had lost a relative, and they're just searching. And
this is before your incident.
This is right before my incident.
Okay. This is right before your incident, because after you are introduced to the church, or to God, and you're with Shane. Okay. So right before this happened, you are kind of on a trajectory of, you only know what you know. You're in the home of your mom.
Exactly.
Your mom is practicing this thing.
Yes, so I'm practicing.
So you're practicing.
We're all
thing.
Yes, my
by
sisters
default.
By default, and my friends. We'd have slumber parties, and it'd be a seance slumber party.
But not like I did. I mean, I did that too, but it was in all good fun. I mean, It was like light as a feather,
right.
In the playground,
right.
and doing things not thinking.
Right. This was deep spiritual weirdness, and I'm convinced, opened the door to darkness. Because if you believe in God, not everyone believes in the other team player, but it's very real. There is a dark enemy, and it's all scriptural.
Okay, so you believe it's scriptural, so not like a manifestation.
No, I believe just like there's a God, there is an enemy that hates God. He wanted to be God, and God cast him down as an angel back in scripture. And he became what is known as the devil, evil, the devil, because where there's as much light, there's darkness. You can be in situation and feel darkness, just like you can feel God and light. There is a darkness, and it's what I call spiritual warfare, without being too woo-woo.
No, I know, and that's the thing is and this is why I want to have these conversations, because I think a lot of people out there, anytime if they're confused, even if they're confused like me, they're not really sure what they believe in, and maybe it's because they had a bad experience with the church or with religion or with somebody, or the hypocrisy of that, or I was abused by somebody in the church, which happens all the time. So when you have that experience, it's really hard to then lean into these.
Oh, trust me. That's
I know.
just what you're explaining it's hard for me to lean into religion because I had been so involved in this. And my mother used to make fun of people that prayed, religious people. It always took her back to her past. And so she raised us to think. I remember I spent the night with one of my friends, and their family prayed before they ate. And I thought that was the weirdest thing I had ever been a part of.
And yet I grew up and prayed before every single
Yes.
meal.
And so I had to work through, even still to this day, I'm very cautious about, because I know how I felt about Christians and just the view of it, that I guard myself almost too much as to not
Project
appear like a religious weirdo. But this is just, it is what it is. And
And I don't know actually even how I feel about you saying that, because on one hand, I want you to be who you want to be and put it all out there. And on the other hand, I'm appreciative, because when people, especially in today's day and age with everything going on, it's so divided that it sometimes feels like if somebody's too far this way or too far that way, that they're associated with these other bad things. And it just doesn't have to be. I have a lot of friends who, aren't like that.
Right. It's, and it doesn't have to be complicated.
It doesn't have to
I'm
be
talking, there's the difference in darkness and light.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
be light.
The light.
Yeah.
And there's a level of darkness out there that fights against that. And so that's what I was in the middle of and caught up in.
Let's get into then how that light, now you have 5 children. I know you've told this story before, but the scaled back version of how you ended up adopting, because a lot of people with 5 children, that would be the last thing on their mind.
Yes.
And I know for me, I felt called to adopt long before I even met my first husband. And I also want to know your thoughts on the being called to do something.
Yes.
So can you speak to that, and then what led you to adopting?
I did not have a single clue about adoption, that I wanted to adopt anything like that growing up. It was just, I thought the only people that adopted it was if you can't physically have children. So we had 5 children. It wasn't even a thought in my mind until it was. And
a mixture of boys and girls. So it's not like you were looking for your little girl, looking for your little boy.
In all of my adoptions, I was never looking to adopt.
Yeah.
But we had gone to a Stephen Curtis Chapman concert, and he starts singing the song Cinderella and plays the video, and his little daughter runs out, and I'm just sobbing. And to this day, that's the first inkling of adoption that ever came across my mind. And so I just started thinking about it. And then after that, everywhere I went, I started seeing
signs,
families, mixed families. Oh, well, that has to be adoption. That has to be adoption. So my eyes were just being open to it. We went to a Christmas party, knocked on the door. This little beautiful Chinese girl answered the door, and she giggled and ran off, and we were there to see some friends. And our friends walked up, and we hadn't seen them in a while. We were like, who in the world was that? And they said, oh, we adopted her. And I looked at her, and I just said, why? Because they had kids our kids' age. And
why would you do that to yourself?
Why did you adopt? Like, you have kids, And she just looked at me and said, why not? She said she was left on the doorstep, of an abandoned building, and we can give her home. In China.
Yeah, which happens every day.
We can give her a home, food, love, a family. So why not? And it was just like,
ding, 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 ding.
Oh my gosh.
Here we go. Shane, wow. I have another idea.
I didn't know you could do that, but that's a great idea. And so that planted the thought. And then it was literally an Oprah Winfrey primetime special. Yeah. She was in Africa.
Yeah.
Helping kids there.
Mine was Diane Sawyer.
Yes. Okay. We're watching that. The show's over. I'm sobbing. Shane turns the TV off and sits down and looks at me, and he just says, how do you watch things like this that go on in the world and then just turn the TV off and act like it doesn't exist?
I know.
And it was in that moment that we said, okay, we want to adopt. We've got 5 kids. We're a little bit nuts,
Yeah.
but let's try this.
Still really young because you started
Yes,
so early.
yes. And so and then that adoption, in our minds, it was funny because I thought we needed to adopt a little girl. We had 2 girls and we had our 3 boys, and I thought it's going to be fun to have another little girl, and she'll fit right in, and she'll look like all of them, and we'll adopt from Ukraine. So we turned our paperwork in for Ukraine, and the country shut down for adoptions. Stayed that way for 2 years. We waited. And there's a whole story behind how it led to Nathan, but
it led to Nathan.
It led to Nathan in Africa,
Ethiopia.
in Ethiopia, and our little Ukraine 2-year-old girl turned into a 4-year-old boy from Africa.
4-year-old black boy.
Yes, 4-year-old black boy from Africa, and so we're going there to pick him up, just clueless as can be.
And he's 4, and he has siblings, or no?
He did have an older sister at the time, but she remained with the mother.
Yeah, she remained, which is very common.
Yes.
And if you ever go on a trip, and I really do hope that people that are listening right now, at the end of this, I want you to go to ordinaryhero.org. We're going to put it in the show notes. I'm going to say it now already because it is absolutely life-changing. Adoption is closed, by the way.
It is, in
which
Ethiopia.
also kind of led to Ordinary Hero. How so?
Well, adoption was our world. And when we picked up Nathan from the orphanage, I had this moment when we left the orphanage. I turned around, and all his little friends were running out of the orphanage, chasing our van and waving and saying, "Goodbye, Natty." They called him Natty. And I just thought, my God, what is going to happen to these kids? We've got our one, and we're grateful, but we're leaving so many. And so I was a photographer at the time and had so many amazing pictures. And I emailed the director of the orphanage and said, "I've got these pictures. If you want to send them to the families that are adopting the rest of the kids." And she said, "Oh, nobody's adopting those kids." And I just couldn't believe it. Why? And she said, "Because they're older." I'm talking 5, 6,
7, yeah.
And so I was just shocked. At the time I had a blog, and I just started putting these pictures out on my blog, and people were following it because I was adopting. It was that whole adoption world. And all of those kids found families. And I was connecting. They just didn't know they existed. And so people in that circle started picking up these kids and adopting these kids.
Pre-social media, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was blogger days.
Yeah, blogger days. Okay.
And so
how did we exist then? I don't know. Okay.
I don't know.
So, yeah, so you're getting them all adopted, and then?
And then my sister decides to adopt her daughter from there. So I travel over with her about 6 months after I adopted Nathan, go into the orphanage, put little bows in these girls' hair, put balls in the boys. They're playing soccer, laughing, having a great time, and I just start photographing and then start advocating. Here's more kids that need families. And so
let's talk for a second, just really quickly, about why we would put bows or balls in the kids' hands.
To make them...
And already I'm going to tell you we're going to get criticized for this part of the conversation. But this is the real part.
Yes. So. Well, first of all, you couldn't tell in the
awful
little mug shots that they put on their website if this was a little boy or a little girl. And it's them in a picture with a blank stare. And it just takes them from being an orphan, viewed as an orphan. Oh, this is an orphan. Just in a mugshot list of 50 others, to an actual child that's laughing and playing and being what a child
Gives
should
them a personality.
Be. Yes, and it helps families relate to this this person as a child and see their person. I'm trying to portray their personalities, their smiles. Like, why shouldn't a family see that child smile if they're thinking about adopting them? And just,
I think we're desensitized a little bit here in America, in North America. You know, we grew up watching the commercials of the starving children, and we watch it, we feel bad, but we don't do anything.
No, because we're desensitized. And I don't fault people for that. I have to, realize that, because my whole world is raising funds for Ordinary Hero to help starving kids. Like, you've seen them. They're looking at you with hollowed eyes, and they have a mother that's sobbing and can't feed her kids.
Well, and that's why I say, because we're desensitized when we see it on TV, and that's the importance of going on a trip and seeing it for yourself.
Yes.
when you are standing before a mother who hasn't been able to feed her children that week.
Yes. Yes.
And she's crying and she's begging. Not begging for food, by the way, begging for somebody to see her.
Yes.
Somebody to help her.
Yes.
Help her children.
But it's hard, as
It's
you
hard,
know.
yeah.
You know, I kind of, it's like people who are passionate for whatever. Let's just say, save the whales or
Yeah.
something. You know, if they were to approach me, I don't relate to that.
Right,
You know,
right,
so
right,
that's why I have to remind myself, not everybody's going
I
to
do
be
relate to that.
passionate.
I also want to save the whales
Save
and
the
the
whales.
dolphins and the turtles in the nets. But okay, so how does Ordinary Hero become Ordinary Hero?
Right.
You've now adopted Nathan. Just Nathan?
Just Nathan.
Okay, at that point.
All
just
started with Nathan.
Yeah.
So because I had Blogger, I put it out on there. Who wants to travel with me to Ethiopia? 21 people signed up for that trip. I did not know half of them and didn't know what I was going to do with them when I took them to Ethiopia. But we just connected with orphanages, and I used them as my team to go in and play with the kids and let me capture these moments. And so that turned into my very first team, and we had, 3 adoptions that came out of that. I found my nephew on that trip. Another girl found her son. 2 others ended up moving to Ethiopia and serving in the orphanages that we visited, helping Ordinary Hero. So that's really what launched it, was that first team trip. And then after that, we kept adding trips. But I had a news anchor in Nashville that found out that had just adopted this little boy. And at the same time, I had run across a little girl at the homeless shelter. And this was actually how Ordinary Hero found its name. I was helping someone at the homeless shelter while I'm waiting to adopt Nathan during that time. And I run across this mother, and she's telling me she's going to leave her child at the hospital and walk away under the Safe Haven Act and all of that. And I said, would you like me to help you find a family for this child? And she said, if you could, that would be amazing. I didn't know how, but I just said, yes, I will. I've got some connections. I will try to help you. And she said, oh, you're my hero. And this is a little pregnant lady sitting in a bench in a homeless shelter. And I said, oh, girl, I'm nobody's hero. I'm just as ordinary as they come. And she just looked at me and she said, well, then you're my ordinary hero.
Oh my God.
And that stuck with me. And so that's what I ended up naming the organization, was Ordinary Hero. Just
Change the world
for one.
And I love that tagline, because I think what happens, and I get a lot of this when I post about me in Africa, they'll say, you know, we just can't make a difference. Like, it's just it's overwhelming to think of.
Or I
all
can't go
of the
because
people
I'd want to bring them all home.
Yeah, I'd want to oh, that's the best one.
Yes.
I'd want to bring them all home, so there's no way I could handle this trip. And I think we bite off more than we can chew with that mentality. And what I love about your mentality is you don't have to change the world.
And you don't have to have it all figured out.
And you don't have to figure it out. You can change the world for one.
Yes.
Okay, and that's where the sponsorship part of Ordinary Hero came in.
So we started out all focused on adoptions, trying to get kids placed in families, which we did. And then adoption shut down in Ethiopia. So then we switched our focus to orphan prevention. Let's keep the kids with the families, because it's literally poverty is the number one reason that splits families there.
And I'm going to play devil's advocate, because I already know what the answers are, but I want to have these conversations. So a lot of people have said to me, oh my goodness, when you support these organizations, the government doesn't feel the need to come in and help their own people. Your answer to that?
Well, in Ethiopia, they don't.
They don't.
They don't.
Yeah.
So
They don't.
I don't really know what else to say.
Exactly. They just don't, and they
Yeah.
never have. And
Right.
it's not like you're coming in and saving their country,
No.
because there's just hundreds of thousands.
And another thing you hear, and I get a lot, and I actually enjoy when I get this question, is why not help people in America? Why
Yeah.
go to Africa? There's so many kids in need here. Why are you going to Africa? So I look at that person and say, I am so glad you have a heart for the children in America. I happen to know the person that runs the homeless shelter or this facility, and can I get you connected with her?
Crickets.
Crickets.
Yes. Experienced that myself. I actually posted something the other day and I was getting critiqued and about not helping people hear.
Yes.
And so I used that on somebody and I didn't get a response.
There's need all over.
There is a
the
need
world.
all over, and I commend people who want to
Yes,
do
and
that.
there has to be people in every realm helping where there's need.
Just like you said, if you want to save the whales, save the whales. But to
Exactly,
much is
and they
given,
need
much
that.
is expected, and we
Yes.
all need to find our place where we
can give back.
Where we
because
can give
we're all
back.
called to, whether people realize it or not. It is part of our makeup, and my story and everything I've been through just fuels my passion to help people because I've been in a dark place, a dark, scary place when you didn't know what the future held, but I've made it through it,
You didn't just make it through it. You made it through it. You're strong. You're putting your money where your mouth is, literally your money where your mouth is, your heart. You have 4 adopted children now.
Yes.
From Ethiopia.
We, since then, adopted 3 more after Nathan. Yes, and they were teenagers when we brought them home. But I had been mom to these kids for a couple of years before we brought them home.
And each one has a unique story. When I went over to Ethiopia for the first time, you texted me. You were already there, maybe. No, you were coming in a day later with the team. We were showing up as a family to experience Ethiopia a day in advance, a couple of days in advance. And you said, my daughter Hewitt is going to pick you up at the airport. And I turned to Ryan, I was like, what in the world? She has another daughter?
Right.
But there was a story behind that because you adopted Hewitt's brother.
Yes.
From Ethiopia. Hewitt stayed with her biological mother. Right. Hewitt has a relationship with her biological mother. She also calls you mama.
Yes.
And
Shane gave her away.
Shane was at her wedding. She is not running Ordinary Hero, but a big part of
She is our in-country director.
Yeah,
she is boots on the ground, and she lived that life, and she gets it more than anyone. And
I want to give a shout out to her because she has such a heart for what she does within her own country. Up until recently, despite the many efforts, you couldn't even get her to come to America on a trip. It's very difficult to get anybody from Ethiopia here because of the obvious. The country wants them to come back. Yes. And there's no guarantee that they will. So people have to vouch that they're going to get them back on the plane to Ethiopia. But she finally made it to America, saw the ocean.
Yes. And it was amazing. And she's been waiting. Gosh, Nathan's been home 17 years.
Her brother.
Yes, her brother. He was our first adoption. Yeah. And we went back and searched for the birth family because that's very important to me. You know, a lot of people don't relate to that, but I really think it brings a lot of healing to your adopted children for them to be connected. Not every story allows for this, but if it can, it's been great for my kids to remain connected to their birth families in Ethiopia. So when we found her, she was living in a little mud home, the bottom of the scale, and we put her in a private school, and she just excelled to the point that she graduated valedictorian of her class and just was this little diamond in the rough that we just discovered because we adopted her brother. And she always kept her birth mom close to her because she's deaf and mute. And so she didn't even bother with trying to come to America, just stayed there, did all of the work for Ordinary Hero, and took care of her mother, and she's married now, has 2 children.
I can't wait to see her again.
Finally got her opportunity to come.
Ryan and I to go see her, but also Emma to meet her because she really does. I'm a very emotional person. Yes. She's second to me. Yes. Oh, yes. So we'll be out in the field, and she is also our translator. So she is translating everything to you and or me if I'm there and you're not there. But on the second trip, you had a family emergency and couldn't go. And so I worked really closely with her and Abby to tell the stories of the people firsthand. So I'm going again in January. If you are interested, please go to ordinaryhero.org. I've actually thought about doing something I want to get your opinion. I thought about starting a GoFundMe. It's easy because a lot of people have already given to GoFundMe, so they can log in really easily and ask people to give $1.
Why not?
I have 300,000 followers.
Why not? There you go.
Why? If
Think
we
how
could get
many
50,000 of
people
those
that would
people,
help.
yeah. And maybe some people would give more, or $1 per family member that they have in honor of somebody there. But $50,000 going over there would buy a lot of bed bundles, or a lot of food, or a lot of, maybe there's a feeding program on the top of Entoto Mountain that's one of my favorite days. That and being with the Maltese nuns, where we strap the goats to the van and drive up the mountain. Very, very hard for my vegetarian heart, but everything's relative once you get there. But yeah, it's the top of Entoto Mountain, and there's a feeding program that Ordinary Hero sponsors. So people listening can sponsor a child, or a family, and usually the sponsorship's actually about the same, whether it's for one person or a few. And it's like, I think it's $67 a month.
$62.
$62 US a month. And that gives them a food package, and it gives them basic care. Sometimes it's an additional like $20 or $30 a month for their rent. And y'all, they're not living in luxury. We're talking about mud huts. But by the end of my first trip, the first mud hut that I went into versus the last mud hut, when I went into the last mud huts on that last week, where we saw people that had been sponsored, and I was like, this is so cute. And it was still a mud hut.
Yes.
But the difference between being unsponsored and sponsored sometimes means just having a home.
It's a home, and it's their hope. You are giving them hope, because they feel like no one in the world knows they exist. And so we're coming in, we're listening to their stories. And for the first time, they have hope. And then we start with feeding them their basic needs. And we're making sure all their kids are getting educated. And they're getting basic medical care that
because
they need.
the goal is to get them off the program.
The goal is self-sufficiency, so that mama can end up taking care of her kids herself. So for the first time in her life, we get to ask her, what do you want to do with your life? She's never been asked that, because she can't think past just trying to feed her kids for that day. And a lot of times just out of the trash dump looking for something to feed her kids. So we're getting
that's all a very difficult day too. The trash dump. And I one of the hardest moments for me was not, well, I can't remember if it was my first trip or my second, but we went to the trash dump, which is, oh my goodness, how high do you think that is? I don't know. It's way too tall to climb. And there's like 500,000 people living off the trash.
And it's so hard. Like,
it's hard to explain it. And hearing me say that, they're like, okay, sort of. But until you're there at the bottom of the trash dump watching a 2-year-old boy, which this has happened, in the first few minutes, a 2-year-old boy with no diaper, a little T-shirt,
no
barefoot,
shoes. Yes,
walking around glass and
not to
just
mention the smell.
Not the smell is and you go there, and and they're so lovely. I mean, all the kids are running up to you.
They're so excited to see you.
And I remember having a backpack full of lollipops, and I was giving them lollipops, and I was posting pictures and kids that needed families, and somebody accused me of a white savior complex. And it broke my heart. It broke me. And I think there were many layers to this. One was I had to look internally on why it was hurting me. And so could I address things differently so that it didn't feel that way to people? And then I just was heartbroken, because I was in this moment where I was going so fast trying to post pictures of people to get help. And they didn't know that side of it, because they're not there.
Right.
So you're trying to make use of your time. So maybe my captions aren't perfect. It says, this little girl was in the trash dump. And they go, really? You can't give the little girl a name? The reality was I didn't know her name, because, that didn't get translated to me in a way that I could put it out there. And we knew her. We had a profile on her. So guys, listen to me. If you want to go on a trip, message Ordinary Hero. Tell them that you want to go on a trip. You listen to this podcast. But you can also follow our trip in January. You're going on 2 back to back. I'm on the second trip. And they can give, if you don't want to sponsor somebody, you can just give, and you can allocate that money to something specific, like diapers, like the orphanage, like the feeding program that feeds the kids in the neighborhood of where we try to get sponsorship, but these are the unsponsored children.
Yes.
And they come to this place once a week
to get fed.
To get
because
fed.
They do not have sponsorship.
They don't have food, and most of these kids are eating once a week. Their little distended bellies and their big smiles, and they never eat until everybody has a plate. I mean, until you experience this.
It blows Americans' minds.
It blows the minds of everyone.
The way that they function.
Yeah.
And that's what grabs the hearts more than anything.
Yeah.
People are like, well, are you going there to preach? And I'm like, good Lord, they preach to us.
Yeah.
Just the way their example is all I need to see of what true religion is.
Yeah.
You know, forget the hype, forget the big buildings, forget these people over there that love the way that they love and love on each other when they have nothing. You know, is what it's all about. They
have nothing, and they have each other, and
they share.
They
the
share
little kids will
every little
give to
thing
their
they
neighbor before they eat to
Oh, my
themselves, and
goodness.
they're just as hungry.
What would you say to someone who feels like just an ordinary person and they're unsure that they can make a difference?
Well, I think my story proves that they can make a difference. You know, we have to get beyond ourselves, get beyond the label of what we think our story puts on us, and see the bigger picture. You know, what good can come from the traumatic events that people have been through, because it teaches you something. It makes you, it's like fight or flight. You know, you're going to become stronger or you're going to get beaten by it. So why not rise up in your spirit and get the strength you need from God and plow on with your purpose.
God, or whatever you believe in, wherever your strength comes from or your motivation comes from.
Anybody can make a difference.
Anybody can make a difference. So I am an example of that. Like where you know, I am a little bit confused about it all. So like I go over there and my motivation is to just be good, because I know that at the root of the human being, we want to be good.
Yes.
That's it. I'm doing the GoFundMe. So by the time this episode comes up, we're going to do the GoFundMe, and I'm going to ask everybody to donate $1. If you are listening to this, if you can give more, fantastic, but $1.
And you're so good at it. I've got to give you credit.
I don't know. I feel like I never do enough.
You get on the ground, and I'm telling you, I don't even know which camera to look in. But
that's your camera right there.
He is a go-getter. I mean, there was a lady that needed a leg because her leg was amputated and she needed an artificial leg, and you just jump on and you.
I was like, yo, we need somebody to pay for the leg. It was like $180.
And instantly, and this other family needed a cow as part of, you know, their empowerment so that they can sell the milk and be self-sustained. And I mean, you're getting cows.
I want to actually tell this quick story, but on the cow situation, and then I want to talk about Nine Pines Retreat, which is your next thing. But so this is how wonderful the world and connections and energy and God, whatever you believe in, is. I now remembered right before I went to Ordinary Hero, several months before, I bought a lake house. I had just gotten divorced, and I bought a lake house in Kentucky. And somebody, a few months later, I get a text from you. We don't know each other that well.
Right. We're just getting to know each other.
We're just getting to know each other. We've known each other for a few years, but just at these events and at luncheons with Linda. So she says, hey, did you buy a house on street? And I said, yes, I did. And she goes, that's really funny. Because somebody just asked me if I was the girl from HGTV. And also I have my daughter's black and your kids are black. Some of your kids are black. And so they thought you were me.
Yes.
And you were like, this is the only other person that I know that's blonde and on HGTV with a black child is Kortney Wilson.
What are the odds?
Yeah, we single-handedly tripled the black population of our little community. But then, a few months later, or actually a year later, I've been on a trip. Maybe I'm going on the second one. And I have just met another family that lives in Nashville with all of us, and they bought a lake house in between our properties.
Between yours and mine.
Yes, on the same street. And somebody introduces me to them and says, "Oh my gosh, you're going to love these people." Their names are Allie and Blake. I'm not going to give their last names. She's a physician. He's in the music industry. And so we're telling them all about this trip. They actually want to go on one of these trips. They've communicated that to you. But I barely know them. I met them in October, and it is December, and we're on this trip. And the guy that is I don't know if he's a pastor or he's the first guy you meet.
Testify?
Yeah, Testify.
Over Cora. Yeah.
And he is helping all of these families and children, and he puts the neediest of the families before you when we go. And so I simply said, "What is your dream?" And he said, "Oh," almost like, "What do you mean? You know, my dream is to help the people." And I said, "Well, what's your dream?" He said, "Well, Ethiopia, the government just gifted me a little bit of land way out in the country, and I'd love for you guys to see it." And I said, "Well, what's your dream?" He says, "Well, my dream is to have a cow." And I, of course, was like, "Do say, do tell me more." So we go out to this farm, and he explains that he wants the dairy cow, which is about the most expensive thing you can buy in Ethiopia, by the way, even more so than a beef cow. And because he wants to make milk and, provide that for his community. So I'm like, yeah, I've heard it all now. So I get on social media and I say, "Hey,
I need a cow.
I need a cow." And if somebody out there, and the cows are expensive.
Yes.
I mean, they're all relative, but they are like $1,700, something ridiculous. And I said, if somebody buys a cow, we're going to buy. Ryan and I are going to match it and buy another cow so that he can have 2 cows. And I get a message in the middle of the night because of the time change from Allie. She goes, "Let's buy some dang cows there, girlfriend." And she sent the money.
That's what I'm saying.
And she didn't know you.
Right. And we're neighbors.
And we're all neighbors. And so we were all in Kentucky at our lake houses one weekend. And Kelly goes, "I'd really love to have all of y'all over.
Yes.
And maybe we can do a dairy theme tonight."
We all showed up and celebrated the cows.
We all showed up and celebrated the cows. What a dang blessing.
But
what a great story. What a blessing.
The number of people that cow, both of those cows,
has fed.
Yes.
Yes.
And transformed that family's life.
Well, it is for sure now. This is a 2-part, so everyone is listening to part 2 at this point. Please tell us what's next for you and tell me about Nine Pines.
Well, Nine Pines just snuck up on us, and it's been really great because our kids are older now. We have raised them. Our youngest, Nathan, is 21. So everybody kind of says, "Are you empty nesters?" And we kind of are. So
empty nesters with 5 grandchildren.
Yes. So 9 children total.
Yeah.
We have 5 grands.
Under 5? Under 4?
Under 4.
Under
4 and under.
4 and
5
under.
grandkids. Okay. So we're in our 2.0 phase of life. Shane and I have it's never been just us.
Yeah.
We've never had time to spend together without juggling a bunch of children. And so for the first time, we're like, what do we want to do? He had worked in the dry cleaning business for 28 years and was just over it. And so we had started renting out some of our lake homes. By accident, we acquired one and through his parents, and COVID hit. And we had to start renting it. And I did not want to rent it. I didn't like the thought of strangers sleeping in the beds in our home, but for financial reasons, rented that, loved it, loved hospitality, and it turned into a few more.
Because I'm going to say, you're not rich.
No.
Yeah. You don't have to be rich.
Run a nonprofit.
You're running a nonprofit. Okay.
So, no. And the lake home thing just was working out great. So we found some land and we started studying glamping. We had heard about it and it was not in our area. So we said, you know what?
Inspired by Ethiopia, this place that you take all of us to.
Yes, we stay in little huts, and they're modernized huts, and it's literally glamping in the middle of Africa.
Yeah.
They have bathrooms.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's put this in this little small town that they're going to think we're nuts. Yeah. So it has just worked out great. We bought the land, we put up our tents. They are very bougie tents. They've got jacuzzi tubs in them, and we added some geodomes, and then we built a barn venue, and we host weddings out there now. And
how do you deal with the juxtaposition of what you see in Africa and then what you experience here?
You just have to be okay with the fact that it is two different worlds. Yeah. And for a lot of people, it's hard. Yeah. They come back from Africa and,
it's hard for me.
Yes. Yeah. And you see what we have, and it's just so not fair. And I experienced that when Hewitt came to visit. My son's sister came here for the first time last April, and there were things that I was almost embarrassed. We were taking her to the beach down to 38 to see the beach for the first time. And we stop at Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh.
We walk in and then it just hits me, and she's just looking around so overwhelmed. And I just look at her and I'm just like, oh, this is embarrassing. Like, I am sorry.
The gluttony.
Yes. Uh-huh. And she's just like, this is a gas station. I'm like, what do you even say?
There's nothing to say.
And so... Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's the same reason it's so important for us to go over there.
Yes.
To appreciate.
Yes. And it's that big of a shock.
Yeah, that it's that big of a shock.
But it's good for us because it's the majority of the world lives that way, not the way we live.
Yeah.
And so it's you just have to balance it. And,
I feel like I appreciate what I have more. I don't try, I think when people criticize me and say, well, why don't you just sponsor all the kids? Why are you asking us? I don't have the money. And I have to let that stuff go and go, well, then don't. It's fine. I feel for you if you're struggling. I'm not actually asking you.
Right.
I'm asking the other person that might be watching beside you or across the lake from you or across the street from you who may be in a position to assist. But it also has made me, though it takes me a good week to acclimate. Like I ended up in a couple of parks crying my eyes out, just trying to understand my place in the world. After the second trip especially, I was struggling. But, it
makes you more appreciative.
I'm very appreciative. I'm appreciative over the very little things. We take it for granted. The rug that I just replaced.
Yes.
The idea that I once might have complained about putting up wallpaper, and now I'm like, dang, I get to put up wallpaper. So I know it's a terrible
I think about a hot shower.
Yeah. And I want to say, because I don't want people to message me saying like, you talk about the smell and all these things. There is a guest house there. So if you're choosing to go on a trip, there's a really nice guest house. This isn't like
it's our Ordinary Hero guest house.
But it's the Ordinary Hero guest house. Great accommodations. There's a staff there. They make our breakfast and dinners. Yes. And then we go out for lunch at a very nice restaurant. Yes. It's not,
feed everyone very well. It's all Americanized.
That's right.
Don't have to worry about the food. That's a big worry for people.
No, I don't even think you need any vaccinations except
you don't have to have them.
You don't have to have any. There's some that are recommended based on certain areas if you'd like. So, that is an important piece. So the glamping site is going really well. We're going to put that information in the show notes.
9 Pines Retreats. Yep. And we have hosted actual retreats, family reunions, weddings, little one-night getaways, anniversary trips, birthday trips. It's been great. Yes. And it's been a good, what we call 2.0 phase for Shane and I.
If anyone books a wedding there and books the whole glamping site, please let me know because I want to be, I'm inviting myself to your wedding.
I love that, yes.
Kelly, I adore you.
I adore you.
And opening up is not an easy thing to do especially when it's so painful and so traumatic. I do believe that you're going to help a lot of people understand what it means to use faith.
Yes.
To propel you forward, to lean into it. And all the beautiful things that have happened, not because of your tragedy, but in spite of your tragedy.
Yeah, I hope that's inspiring to some people out there that might feel stuck in their past.
Well, you're very humble. It will be very inspiring. It is inspiring. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you, friend. Love you.
Love you too.
When I recorded this podcast with Kelly Putty a little while back, we had talked about doing a GoFundMe. Well, we did it. The link is in the bio. It's also all over my social media accounts. We are asking people to give what the minimum is on GoFundMe, which is $5, towards a campaign with a goal of $10,000 to help when we have boots to the ground in January 2026. This will go towards feeding children, families, the community, buying goats for the nuns to provide milk for the kids in the community, and then some. And you can follow along as we do it. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Shit Stick of Life podcast. Please remember to like or subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. Much appreciated. See you next time.